Thank you so much. So good to be here. We've saved the front row seats for the latecomers, which I always appreciate, right? So we know who those people are. Uh, so as Emily said, my name is Chad, and I have three daughters. Just to give you a quick snapshot of my family, my wife Karma is here, and my clicker is going to work. There you go. So this is the crew that God blessed me with in terms of family and parenting. So my wife Karma of 26 years, and then oldest daughter Shelby, and middle daughter Bailey. Shelby's a nursing graduate and has been employed now for 2 years. It's like, yes, right, get out there. And so she's doing her thing, which is fantastic. And then Bailey is 21, and she is in New Zealand at this point with Youth with a Mission. I went for a year, for a gap year that turned into years, and she signed up for a 2-year commitment in Queenstown. And so we don't get to see her very much in person, but she is a super big blessing to our family. And then Sydney is here with us, and I think went to lunch. Did she go to lunch with somebody, right? Did she make it, Sherry, right? So she is getting acclimated here to the RVA way, and so that's cool. Really appreciate the welcome. You don't know what you're going to get when you come to a new place, and it's just been overwhelmingly welcoming to both Karma, myself, and then to Sydney as well. So really appreciate that. You've got a special thing going on here, and I don't know if you know that or if you need outsiders to come in and tell you that, but it's a pretty unique and special environment. And with that comes me presenting a workshop to you that I've probably presented a couple hundred times, but never in this context. So I'm like, I wonder where this is going to go. Right? So you're going to help me figure out where this is going to go, and I am a little bit comfortable with transitions or change and flying by the seat of my pants at times. So we'll figure it out. My hope in coming to you today and the time that we're here is really to help walk through a framework that we use for parenting. And the framework, we just call it very uniquely the Connected Families Parenting Framework, that really gives us a way of looking at parenting. And I think when I was growing up, my kids listened to Dobson. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I heard the saying, well, Dr. Dobson says, right? It'd be like, okay, well, that was kind of my parents' go-to. As a parent of young kids, I kind of followed in some of those footsteps, and actually Connected Families, we've been on Focus on the Family and their radio broadcast, and so have gotten to know them a little bit as well. But really looking for a parenting framework, like how do we make decisions? And this really isn't even as much about parenting as it is about relationships. I've taught marriage retreats around the information that I'm going to share with you. I've taught mediation trainings around these ideas that I'm going to share with you. But the big thrust of Connected Families is really around parenting. And so that's how we came to RVA, I think through Tiffany, perhaps, and Corey going to a workshop. They heard Jim and Lynn Jackson, the founders of Connected Families, speak in Iowa. And I'm from Iowa, and my saying is that all roads lead through Iowa, right? Everybody knows somebody from Iowa. And so they met Jim and Lynn in Iowa, and they came to a workshop and then started to dig in a little bit more, and I think that's kind of how it ended up here at RVA as well. So that's a little bit of the journey. This is not meant to be a lecture for 2.5 hours, okay? Right? You don't want that, I don't want that. So there will be some times for interaction and really trying to present a framework for you, and then let's wrestle around with it a little bit to see how it applies in your particular situation and your roles here. So that's the brief introduction. The framework and this material that we'll talk about today really comes out of this book that the founders of Connected Families wrote, called Discipline That Connects with Your Child's Heart. Right? So really looking at when behavioral challenges start to arise, how do we work towards reaching into our kids' hearts rather than just settling for external sorts of right behaviors? And I know as a parent that it was really tempting for me to want to just get the right behavior, right? Just behave right, rather than reach down into the heart, because we know when the heart is engaged, then the behaviors tend to flow from that. But when it's just the external, just getting right behavior, if that's my goal or that's my focus, Jesus talked a lot about the Pharisees having, they looking good on the outside, but on the inside, their hearts were far from God. And so it's not just about getting the right behavior, but it's about reaching into our kids' hearts so that they will want to obey, that they will want to follow and go from there. So what I'd like to do is just so you know, when I ask a question, I'm generally looking for an answer. All right? So I don't ask a lot of rhetorical questions. So I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then you can respond to these. So I just trying to get a feel for who's in the room. How many of you are teachers, like you're a classroom teacher? Okay, there's a lot of classroom teachers in here. All right, and how about like administrators? Okay, got some administrators. How about dorm parents? Right, so dorm parents. Am I missing a role here? No? Service staff, right? There you go, service staff, thank you. Yeah. How many of you have kids that you are raising yourself? Okay, not just the dorm parents. So you have, okay, so we got a lot of kind of double application sorts of pieces here. Okay, last question, just age range, right? Yeah, not your age range, right? Thank you. Although willing to offer, that's good. So just the representation of kids in the room, like you're responsible for these kids from 0 to 5 years old, the average age. Let's go averages, right? So average age. Okay? So you can only raise your hand once in this because we're going averages. So 0 to 5. How about 6 to 10? Right? Okay, so we're gonna climb the ladder here. 11 to 15. 11 to 15. All right, and then 16 and over. All right, so we're 11 to 15 centric, or at least maybe average age represented in the room is 9 or 10 years old, somewhere in that range. So here's what I want to do. I want to invite you into a little bit of a conversation. Just toss out a couple ideas that you would have. What are some challenges that you might have with that other people would be able to relate to? Okay, we're looking for a general relatability here. With a kiddo that's in the age of 9, 10, 11 years old, what would be a pretty basic, regular challenge that you might have? Maybe it's discipline, behavioral. Screen time. Not enough? Too much? What's that? Yeah, that's right. I'm talking to you, right? Yeah, too much. Right. So screens. How much screen time do I get? That would be a very typical conversation. So the child wants more screens. We're trying to set limits, right? Okay, how about others? What's a relatable? Hygiene. Okay? Yes, that's a good age range for hygiene. Right? So general lack of awareness. Is that it? Is that what it is? Or?
It's unnecessary.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. Waste of time, maybe. Yeah.
Trying to feel the boundaries a little more.
Okay, boundaries. Okay, so I mean, that would be a wide range of things. Maybe it's the screens, maybe it's the timeliness, or it could be a wide range of things, but boundary pushing. Yeah, how about others?
Friendships.
Okay, what about friendships?
Just trying to figure out who are my friends and why are they my friends. I mean,
Okay,
should I hang out with this person or that person, or why doesn't this person like
Yeah, friendship decisions. Okay? Argumentative. Just for sport, kind of, you say no, I say yes, right? Maybe? Testing some boundaries too, yeah? Siblings. Okay, they're having a difficult time loving and respecting their siblings. That shouldn't be new news for anybody, right? I mean, that can sometimes be some difficulties. Okay, well, let's just pick one. And is there one that resonates maybe across boundaries here? We've got screens. That's one that comes up virtually every time I would talk. Screens would be a big issue. Friendship. Okay. Yeah. Any others make it? What's that? Identity.
How they identify themselves, or identity kind of goes with friends too,
Yeah.
or any other thing that wants to take up their time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's just walk through, and we're gonna. I want to walk through these things, and then we're gonna give you some frameworks, some tools. We'll walk through some more. There are going to be opportunities to go through a variety of things. I think screens is really easy in terms of clarity, kind of setting up some boundaries. Let's walk through that, and I'd like to do. Maybe a little bit of a role play. Would you be willing to jump in with me a little bit? Okay, why don't you come up here? What's your name? Bill? Phil. Phil. I had a 50-50 shot, and I chose the wrong one. So, Phil. So this is Phil, and he's 10. All right? And I'm the parent here. And tell me some things. Give Phil a couple characteristics. What's Phil like?
Whiny.
He's whiny? Okay, you got that? All right, how about one or two others? He's what? Okay. I'm supposed to ignore him, all right? Whatever he says, I'm going to ignore. All right, what other? So he's whiny, and what else? And he's argumentative. So whiny arguer. Fantastic. How about me? What's my deal? What am I like? Control freak. Yes! I play it really well, so I don't. Uptight, okay? Rules oriented, right? Okay. So, and what are the basic rules here about the screens? Just so I know, what are the established rules about screens? 1 hour a week. Wow. Okay. You You don't start yet. Don't start yet. He's already going off on this. This is unfair. All right. So what I'd like to do is just role play this out a little bit in a way that I think it might typically go. At least it's my default way of doing this. And what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to two things. I want you to pay attention to what my goals are in this conversation and what my messaging is in this conversation. That would begin with the words, Phil, you are blank. All right, so pay attention. What are my goals? What am I after? And then what messages is Phil receiving from me in this little scenario? All right, so it's just going to do it for just 30 seconds, something like that. Unless you're really entertaining, then we'll keep right on going. So now the scenario is that he has a screen. You've got a screen, all right, and you're over, or what?
I don't think so.
No, right.
I've still got 5 minutes.
Has he gone over? Has he gone over his hour? Okay, so he's over, and now he's busted, right? Okay, so you go ahead. You get on your device there. So, okay. Okay. Phil, what are you doing? What are you doing? What did you?
Texting. Homework.
No. Phil, you're overtime.
I'm sure I got.
No, you're overtime. Phil, look at the clock. You're 15 minutes overtime. No, you're 15 minutes over. Now,
Well,
when are you?
according to my app.
No, when are you going to be responsible? When are you going to take some responsibility and stop doing this? Now, give me the phone right now. Come on, give it to me. Yeah, you heard me.
Can I give you my finger?
Phil, you either give it to me now or you go to your room, all right? And
Can I take this?
No, you can't take that. Okay. Jeez, you're not going to have this for the next 2 days, all right? The next 2 days.
Can I trade it for my finger?
Phil, get out of here. Just get out of here. Okay, Phil, here you go. Give Phil a round of applause, right? He was whiny, argumentative, and a comedian, all in one, right? So, what messages? If you think about my goals, what am I trying to teach Phil here? What am I after?
Who's the boss?
Okay, so it's control, maybe. Who's going to control this thing? My goal was to be the boss, maybe. What else?
The goal is to protect online. I would think part of your thing is that, you want him to be responsible with what you've given him and to do what he's supposed to.
Okay, so I want him to be responsible. I want to protect him from maybe misusing his time or going into places that I don't want him to go to. How about messages? If you were Phil in this situation, what messages did you receive from me that would begin with the words, Phil, you are blank? Okay, that one came through clearly, is that right? Phil, you are irresponsible. What else? You're wrong.
You can't be trusted.
Yeah, you're untrustworthy.
You're not worth listening to.
Okay,
Start and you would
break in, right? Okay, so you're not worth listening to? I'm a hypocrite. Okay? In what way?
You were on your device.
Thank you. Right. I was modeling well. Yeah, other messages that stood out.
The boundaries seem just extremely important. It's just all about the boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. So not a lot of listening, right? So as parents, as influencers in our kids' lives, as teachers, okay, we are sending messages to our kids on a regular basis that they're receiving from us. And as parents, I think we've got good intentions for our kids, right? When I meet with parents and I ask them, what are your goals? What do you want from them? The goals, and I don't know, I've been meeting with parents a long time. I've never met one parent where I thought, oh, that's an awful goal, right? Parents' goals are good. We want our kids to be, and when I ask this question, they oftentimes come along these lines. We want to teach you to be respectful. We want you to be obedient. Right? We want you to be considerate or have good manners, good goals that we have. But when we start to think about those messages and how those messages come across to our kids, they sometimes get sloppy and they get a little messy. And you see the kinds of messages along the lines of, child, you are disrespectful, or you're not listening, you're lazy, or you're naughty. And the messaging that we send to our kids over time, these are really identity-forming messages. This is about who you are, what we believe to be true about you. And what I know to be true is that our intentions are good. I have good intentions for my kids, but as my kids get older, and then maybe as the behaviors become a little bit more extreme, I start to get locked into some pretty poor messaging again that just kind of repeats that cycle of who you are. This is what I believe you to be. So there's a disconnect oftentimes, I think, between good goals and poor messaging. And sometimes the disconnect really begins with me. There's this past, perhaps. There's resentment or guilt. I remember thinking a couple times with one of my kids, we can't go anywhere without you complaining about this. Or we can't do anything together, perhaps as a dorm, without you always throwing this out there, or always whining about this, or it's never right. And I would start to develop this kind of resentment in my kids, and my kids know the judgments that I have against them in my heart. Right? I don't even have to say sometimes the things that I'm thinking. They just know that I might have this judgment. There could be the stress, right? My kids could be doing some behaviors and I'm just stressed out. I come home from work or I walk in the door or I'm just worried about something else that's going on in my life, and boom, I can just unleash on Phil. Like, what are you doing? Why are you on that thing? And it really isn't so much about the behavior as much as it is about the stress that I've got, and it just kind of dumping that on my child. And the third one I think really resonates as we start to project out a future for our kids. There's anxiety that starts to that grows in us. And I don't know if you've ever thought about this or thought these things, but if we don't get this figured out pretty soon, where's this kid going to be? If we don't get this behavior taken care of pretty soon, and we start projecting out this awful or negative future on our kids, and then I become discouraged. I usually become really controlling when I'm anxious. Got to get this figured out. Got to make sure that this doesn't happen. And so rather than being a present and helpful person in my child's life, I'm worried and anxious for their future. And then the last one, and one that oftentimes when I work with parents of teenagers in particular, they'll say something along the lines of, we just don't know how we got here. Like, we didn't plan for here. This isn't what we set out for, but we didn't really have any intentionality about where we were going to go. We didn't have a plan for that. And so lack of intentionality, I think, is another gap that sometimes gets in between our good goals and our messaging. So what I'd like to have you do is just take a moment to get into pairs or small groups and answer this particular question. When our kids are little, we tend to say some things to our kids that when they get older, we sometimes stop saying, right? I mean, what do we say to a baby? We look at this baby and we say things like, "You're so cute," right? "Oh, you're adorable. You are so perfect." And then they start talking, right? But we have this heart for these kids, and we say these things, but then things start to happen, and our messaging maybe stops being as intentional as we would like. So this is a question I want you to consider. What are the messages of grace and truth that you'd like to be sure that your kids grow up believing about themselves? What are the messages of grace and truth that you want your kids, the kids in your sphere of influence, to grow up believing about themselves? And if you can bring Scripture into this, okay, you get double points. And I don't know what double points are really worth other than double the single points. But so have this conversation, and then we'll come back and talk about it. So get into small groups and answer that question. Okay, we'll bring it back to the front. What'd you come up with? What are messages of grace and truth you'd like the kids in your sphere of influence to grow up believing about themselves?
You need Jesus.
You need Jesus. Child, you are needing of Jesus. You are, right? Right. Just like me, right? Just like I need Jesus, you need Jesus. What else? You're valuable.
I remember when my kids were teenagers, and I'd say, I know you're trustworthy.
Yeah, you're trustworthy. Yeah. You're loved unconditionally. Yeah. You are up to this challenge. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Right. Yeah. Right. So there's our double point there.
You're worth it.
You are worth it.
You are forgiven in Christ.
Okay, you are forgiven in Christ. You're allowed to fail.
You're important.
You are important.
As a parent of a couple of adopted kids that we have fought for you to defend and fight for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're worth fighting for.
God's handiwork created in Christ Jesus.
Mm-hmm. You're God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works. Double points.
Just like that would be like, for me, it's, the work that he began in you, he will be faithful.
Yeah. He's begun a good work in you, and he'll be faithful to complete it. These aren't things that we think a lot about. At least I didn't for a long time. Just a little background for me. I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a certified life coach. I've worked in the social services with child protection for a number of years as well. And one of the things that I would see as a therapist, especially of teenagers, was this identity crisis. And somebody mentioned in the back, of not knowing who I am. Right? And then we start getting into the teen years, and it just gets blown up. Like, who am I really? How do I fit in? How do I find significance and belong in this place? Really striving for that. And I think the interesting thing about connected families and the framework when we start thinking about messaging is really messaging is a good starting point and it's something I have control over. I can control my messaging. I can't control my kids' behavior, but I can control the messaging and how I send it to them. And a lot of times as parents, we want to start with methodology. Like, what do we do? What do we do? It's a really good question. But if we start with methodology, it oftentimes we end up just working at behavior modification rather than identity forming sorts of messaging. And so, when I talk to parents, these are a lot of the things that parents will say about what they want their kids to believe about them growing up. What messages of grace and truth. Child, no matter what, this is what I want you to know. This is what I want you to receive from me as we raise you up, right? So this is the framework that I talk about. So Connected Families Parenting Framework starts with the foundation. And I just want to highlight a couple of these things, and then we're going to move into a little bit more detail around this. But a strong foundation. Really, the foundation is before we do anything with a child or a struggling child, we're really asking ourselves the question, what's going on inside of me? What do I believe about myself? What do I believe about my child in this situation? And the question that I ask parents and then hand the therapy card out afterwards is, Can you be okay even if your child's behavior is not? Or do you need your child to behave a certain way, to behave well in order for you to be okay? Right? In essence, where does my value come from? Where does my sense of okayness come from? Is it a settled issue in Scripture? If you read Ephesians 1, you read Ephesians 2, Colossians 3, you'll see probably 25 to 30 statements that are you are statements about who you are in Christ. This is who you are. You're chosen, you're holy, you're dearly loved, and it doesn't matter what's going on around you or your relationships. This is who you are. And when we have a strong foundation, out comes a message towards our kids of, child, you are safe with me. You're safe with me, emotionally, physically, spiritually safe. Okay, you're not my report card. You let that sink in for a minute. Right? It's like, wait, hold on a second. Isn't my child my report card? Well, where do I get my value from? And if my child can have the power over me based on their behavior, then my child has a lot of power over me. Right? Can I be okay even if my child is struggling? Even if the kids in my dorm are struggling? Even if my students are struggling? Okay, so we're going to dive into that a little bit more, but connection. We're going to talk about this idea of connection. Connection is, as we would define it in connected families, is understanding, our kids understand that we know them, we love them, we enjoy them, we're for them. And out of a strong sense of connection in a behavioral challenge comes a message of, child, you're loved no matter what. Your behavior doesn't define you or make you more or less worthy of my love. And somebody mentioned that in the back already. Your child, you are unconditionally loved. Second message. We call these first two messages the messages of grace. Because when we mess up, we all need a nest of grace to fall back into where people love us, they're for us, and we know they're for us. The next two messages are messages of accountability. All right, we have to have accountability in our life as well. And so we talk about this idea of coach. And coach is helping our kids understand what life is like. Okay? How do you have healthy relationships? How do you manage money? How do you clean up after yourself? Just some basic life skills. And out of a coaching perspective, when our kids are struggling, comes a message to a struggling child. Child, you are called and capable. You're called to be a blessing. It's the Genesis 12, 1 through 3, Abrahamic blessing. You've been blessed to bless other people. And you're capable of doing good works that God has prepared in advance for you to do. So looking at, even in misbehavior, looking at what we would call at Connected Families as the gift gone awry. That underneath misbehavior, there's a God-given talent being used, usually tainted by sin or just an unrefined, immature kid that we can call out. And then the last one is correct. Right? And it's the one that as parents and people who are working with kids really want to get to. When people find out I work with parents or do coaching, they ask me one of two questions, the variation of these questions. How do I either get my child to stop doing this or start doing that? That's the question that we start with. And we're going to talk about methodology because it's really important. But if it's our starting point, we will find ourselves playing whack-a-mole. And I don't know if you've ever played whack-a-mole. Have you? All right, you hit that mole, you keep hitting, and the better you get, the faster they pop up, right? And for the first several years of my parenting, I felt like my job was to make my kids not misbehave. Like boom, 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 and they just got better at it. And I was trying to do my thing, and they were just continuing on. And so this framework really helped provide a different look at how we can engage our kids to help them grow in that message that comes out of correction. Child, you're responsible for your actions in your life. And I'm going to hold you accountable. There are going to be consequences that will help build wisdom, okay, not just suffer pain so you never want to do that again, but actually wisdom-building consequences that put them responsible to right the wrongs that they have made. So that's an overview. And really, there are a lot of messages you could hone in on when you're thinking about what messages you would want your kids to receive. But this is really the framework that we've landed on in working with kids. And my background in working as a counselor as well, but also working with at-risk teens. Spent 10 years with at-risk teenagers in the Minneapolis area, growing and learning and understanding what it's like to work with people who are really struggling. And then when they mess up, they feel bad about it and they leave the relationship. Like, no, come on back. There's restoration. I love you. I'm for you. Your behavior doesn't define. Okay, yep, we're going to put boundaries around here. But that was kind of the place where I cut my teeth on some of these ideas of messaging well to kids. So let's have Phil come back, and we're going to replay this little snapshot, and this is what I would like to have you keep in mind. I'm just going to work hard at a framework here of sending Phil some messages about he's safe with me, okay, that he's loved no matter what, that he's capable, called and capable, and that he's responsible. And pull that thing right back out, okay? So you just do what you do. You respond to me how you think you would want to respond in this kind of a situation, and we'll go from there, okay? So this is like live TV. You never know what you're going to get. So, okay. Phil, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Yeah, we're going to shake hands? Wow. Do you shake hands with your dad every time?
Sometimes
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, how's your day?
it's going okay.
Yeah, it's going good.
Yeah.
Good. What are you up to? I saw you had a device in your hands.
Homework.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Homework on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how much time do you get for screen time? What did we agree on?
Well, all good parents don't have, limits. But
Ah.
I have an hour
Okay, so you have an hour. Yeah.
a week.
Yeah. Blame her. So good. You're a good listener. You told me the truth. I appreciate that very much, even though you disagree with it. Yeah. So, by my count, your hour's up.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are my phone.
Well, I guess. What did we agree to? That if you went overtime, what would happen?
I've forgotten that one.
Mm-hmm. Do you need a little reminder?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it was the phone. You're about to give it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and we said that it's 2 days that you'd be off, and then you get another shot at it, right? To be responsible with your time.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Phil. Right? Thank you so much. Give him a round of applause. Wow. I have had people under tables kicking and screaming doing these role plays. So Phil, that's so. So what did you observe in the "you are safe with me"? So I mean, if we just walk through this. Okay, body posture was different. What was different?
The first one you were pointing at the clock, and you made yourself bigger,
Yeah,
challenging by standing up taller, and
right.
you were kind of next to him rather than in front of him.
Okay. Okay, so just coming into it was different. How about your love no matter what? See anything in there?
You wanted to address something, but you didn't start with that.
Okay, yeah.
You actually engaged with him.
Okay, so started to engage with him. Physical contact, shook his hand, right? Put my hand on his back, right? And if our kids receive that, fantastic. If they don't, I've got 2 kids that if I did that, they would be fine, and one would punch me, right? Because they didn't want to be touched, especially in maybe a confrontational sort of way. But yeah, how can I connect? How about the capable? You're capable. You're called and capable.
You told me the truth.
Yeah. You told me the truth. You're a truth teller. Okay, who might sometimes lie, right? But I'm going to affirm truth when it's spoken, especially when it's hard truth, because he just said something that he didn't want to be the truth, but it was. And so that's a really strong attribute that I would want to make sure I get behind with him. Yeah. How about? Yeah, you have another shot at it. Okay, that would be a standard response of, oh my goodness, we're not going to negotiate the consequence. Okay, but the next time, what would you want to do differently? You're going to get another shot at this to show that you're responsible. And it'll be interesting to see what decisions you make then. Right? So it's even a little bit hopeful. You're going to be able to do this. And then responsible, you're responsible for your actions. What'd you see?
Still had to give the phone up.
Yeah, he gave the phone up.
For the full amount of time.
For the full amount of time. His what?
That you agreed on.
Yeah, that we agreed on. Yeah. So, and it's predicated, I mean, this scenario is really predicated on me being really clear about what the expectations were. Right? As soon as expectations aren't clear, then it's a free-for-all. I mean, Phil could say whatever he wants to say, and I could say whatever I want to say. There's no clarity around that. So clarity really helps hold people accountable. If we're going to hold someone accountable, they need to know what it is that we're holding them accountable to, and then we can move from there. So I just like to give a little bit of a snapshot, like what that could look like. Again, not everybody has a kid like Phil, right? Who offers to give up the phone. But we've watched over the years the difference that the influence that parents have, and the difference that starts to take place in families as we consider these messages. And I want to just take a little bit of a deeper dive into these 4 messages. So you're safe with me. When there's a situation that's arisen, I just encourage you to just think safety first. Like, think of the safety sign, right? Am I safe? What would make me safe here? The key thought that's important here is that kids learn best when they feel safe. Kids learn best when they feel safe. So my posturing to Phil in the first session, big, we call it fast, large, and loud. That's Connected Families vernacular. It's just, we're fast, we're large, and loud. Usually when there's a misbehavior, we come rushing into it. And our kids' brain goes into survival mode, oftentimes called fight or flight. Okay? And this is not about, sometimes I'll ask parents, is the argument or the fight that's going on with the child almost as if life and death depends on it? And sometimes parents will go, yes, I can't even believe it. It's just so intense, and it's just over a pretzel, right? Okay, sometimes that's just about that survival mode getting triggered. This is life or death. And although it's a pretzel, I will not lose, because I will die if I lose. And that might sound funny for us, but that is, some kids are in that place. And when we come in big, fast, large, and loud, we trigger a survival mode, a fight or flight response from our kids that sets it up to be you versus me, and somebody's going to lose here. And in those power struggles, even if I win, I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about just using my power to get behavior. Right? So there's this idea. Kids learn best when they feel safe. So the learning that we want our kids to receive from us happens in a little calmer place than that initial reactive, responsive place that we can go to. One of the things that I do lots of coaching, and one mom in particular said, you know what? My goal for between now and the next time that we meet is that I'm going to rub lotion into my hands before I say anything to my child when I'm angry. It's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And so the goal I'm going to rub lotion into my hands. And she came back 2 weeks later, and we're like, well, how's it going? It's like, yeah, it's been really good discipline for me, right? Rubbing your hands actually is a brain calming activity, so it calms you down. And so she's rubbing lotion in her hands, getting into that practice, and her kids would start to see her rubbing lotion, and they'd say, oh no, Mom's getting lotion, right? You kind of get this response. Like, we must be in trouble, but here's the beautiful thing about it. And what I absolutely love about what the mom said to her kids, she said, what I'm discovering is that when I'm angry, I say hurtful and mean and unkind and untrue things to you. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to protect you from my anger. Now that's modeling for your kids to be able to calm themselves down. I'm going to calm myself down before I say things to you that are hurtful to you. All right, so James 1:19 says everyone should be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to become angry. Why? Because human anger does not produce the righteous living that God desires. Time's up. All right. Thanks for having me, Emily. Wow, no, that was really good. Somebody knew what to do. That's the biggest. So what mom describes then as telling her kids that probably 3 or 4 weeks later, her kids were running to the lotion saying, oh, I'm so mad. I need to get some lotion, right? Why? Why are we getting lotion? Because we're calming ourselves down because we don't want to hurt other people when we're angry. It's taking responsibility for ourselves. We can't accomplish solving a problem when we're really mad. And so just that modeling. So here's an interesting thing. I relayed this story to another coaching client that I was working with. The mom said, I'm going to go away, the next 2 weeks between sessions, and I'm going to work on the lotion thing because I just say these things right out of my mouth. And this is so me. I speak first and I ask questions later. My wife, she has to apologize for so few things because she thinks before she speaks, right? That's a good gift. I don't do that all the time. And so this mom goes away. She comes back, and she brought with her a little comic strip from her 10-year-old daughter. And her 10-year-old daughter gave her this without knowing anything that was going on, just observing her mom. And the first strip here is mad, and it's mom baring teeth, right, at a really undersized child, and is saying, roar. Okay, next one. Lotion. There's lotion that shows up on the scene, calms her down. And then the last one, and I don't know where the southern draw kind of came from or the mom's tooth is, but it said real friendly like, we need to talk, sweetie poo. Right? And you've got a more normal sized child. But this is 2 weeks of a parent saying, I'm going to calm myself down because I'm seeing what's going on when I get interactive and fast, large, and loud. This is slow, low, and listen. Calming ourselves down. This was fascinating to me, right? To watch a 10-year-old draw a comic strip, offer it up to her mom, and say, something happened, lotion, I don't know what it is, but there's something pretty important here. Again, this is really about getting ourselves under control. If we believe somehow that the kids that we influence are going to figure out how to control themselves somehow, we're fooling ourselves. We will lead our kids to that place. If I can't do it, it's really hard to expect that my kids would do it. So how do I get myself to calm down? Say a prayer. For me, it was. I would just say, you know what? I'll be back in just a couple minutes, and that was just code for I need a break, and I'm going to go grab a drink of water. I'm just going to go over here, grab a drink of water, pray, ask God for wisdom and help in the situation, so that I could actually help my kids grow and learn in wisdom. not just be angry or argumentative with me. So we think about that. Fast, large, loud, slow, low, listen. What do you need to do to slow yourself down, to get low? There's a saying that motion changes emotion. Okay, getting down, sitting down, laying down, okay, has the ability to change how we're feeling, our emotions, just by changing our posture, getting on one knee. Okay, and then listen to the Holy Spirit. God, help me here. It's the cry of our desperate hearts sometimes, and it's one I think God hears every time when we go, help me, help. We don't know what to do. And so that idea of slow, low, and listen, the recliner is always a reminder to me. My kids would look at me occasionally if I would walk to the recliner and sit down while there's this big kerfuffle going on. And they would, what are you doing? I just thought I'd sit down, rather than come in and do that big towering thing. So you're safe with me. I mentioned James 1:19, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. What are we modeling for the kids that we influence? The question that I would encourage you to ask when we're thinking about this message of you're safe with me is, what's going on in me? Why does this behavior cause such a big response from me? What's happening inside of me? So I had a belief, okay, and from a counseling or psychological perspective, our beliefs drive our thoughts, which lead to feelings, which move us into action. So what we believe and what we think matters a lot. What we believe and what we think. So I would hear my kids squabbling, and I would come in, and I realized that I had this belief, this thought that would pop into my head, and it would go something like this: I shouldn't have to deal with this. I don't know, anybody else? I shouldn't have to deal with this? Yeah, right. See that hand, right? I shouldn't have to deal with this. And the fruit of the Spirit does not flow through, I shouldn't have to deal with this very well. Okay, it's clogged up in there. Not a lot of love, joy, peace, patience. It's really, in essence, I would be sending the message to my kids: you are an inconvenience to me. You're a frustration to me. You're an irritant to me, when I would come in that sort of way. So asking the Lord, what is true about this situation? So the work that I needed to do was to go, wait, I shouldn't have to deal with this as a belief that is not true. If you look at 2 Corinthians 10:5 says we take every thought captive and we place it under the obedience of Christ. Is this a true thought? I shouldn't have to deal with this? Hold on a second. So I would work at rewriting that into something that was more hopeful and graceful. So then I would be walking into the room, kids would be doing their thing, and I would walk in and I would be saying this under my breath. I would say, although this is frustrating and even angering to me right now, what's the learning opportunity here for my kids? If I could get myself to learning opportunity, what can my kids learn here? How can I help them? Okay, I was a very different person in that situation and that struggle. So, Lynn Jackson, she talks about her belief that she would have, I'm an angry mom raising an angry son, and when he gets to be a teenager, it's going to be awful. Whew, right? What kind of response does that belief bring forward? Okay, pretty controlling. We've got to get this figured out. I'm angry. He's angry. She rewrote her belief. God, what's true about me? What's true about my son? And she would start saying, I'm an intense mom raising an intense son. And we butt heads, but we love each other. And we're going to make it through. Okay? It's a different framing. We will come to scenarios differently when we have a belief system that is actually in line with what God might say about our kids, what God might say about us as well. So, you're familiar with the Serenity Prayer, likely. This is a little rewrite, just a couple words changed, but God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know it's me. It's me. Lord, change me. Let that be my prayer before, Lord, change my kids. Would you help me enter into this as a person who sends this message? You are safe with me. So just take a minute. What's your response on your handout? What would you like to do to make sure that the kids that you influence know that they're safe with you? Just write down a couple thoughts or a couple words that come to mind. Y'all know this isn't normal weather, right? I mean, I'm just looking outside going, oh my goodness, it's another sunny day. I'm from Minneapolis, all right? So Minnesota, and we left Minneapolis, and there was about 15 inches of snow that we'd had in that week. The week before, we just missed it. The timing was just off, Emily. We should have come like a week earlier. We had like a 5-day stretch where it never got above zero. And it was the lowest high, was negative 15. So it's like unbelievable. Who chooses to live here? So anyway, this isn't normal, but I like it a lot. So let's move to just offer comment, thought, feedback. Yeah.
I deal with kids that tend to be shorter.
Yeah.
I teach junior high, so I try to make sure that I'm not towering, that I'm actually
Right.
sitting down or looking at
Right.
them eye to eye,
Yeah.
not large and loud.
Right. Fast, large, and loud. Right. So you're aware of the posture, how people could perceive that. Yeah, Corey.
With my own children, but also the guys that might belong there and the kids in my classroom, to know that sometimes I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And that's, like, when I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it.
Yeah.
And try to defend myself.
Yeah. So when I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit it, say that I messed up. And one of the, I think, hallmarks of safety is that when you've blown it, to be able to say, I blew it. And it doesn't mean, and I think there's a big difference between apologizing or saying that I was wrong and that of groveling, like, oh, I'm just the worst ever. And it's, that creates a level of dependency now. Our kids need to caretake us rather than, you know what? I wish I'd handle that differently. And we're going to talk about it as we get to the responsible piece, but I think it's important for us as influencers of kids to also recognize that we can have some do-overs. And there's brain research that says that telling somebody to do something or not do something will likely not change anything. Just giving an instruction, do this or don't do this. Stop behaving that way or start behaving this way. But that when actual practice takes place, doing it the way that we would like to do it, that it creates a new brain pathway for us to be more consistent in doing it the way that we would want to do it. So when you think about that, for myself as a parent to be able to go, and it's a conversation I had with my middle daughter. She was probably a junior in high school. She was making some academic decisions and filling out classes that she was going to be taking, and I just basically took over the reins, said, no, here's what you're going to do. Da, 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 da. I was fearful, anxious that she was going to make a poor choice, and I jumped in and made it for her, and I felt really badly about it. Came back that night, and I just said, hey, I just need to tell you that I was not the dad that I wanted to be today, and I am really sorry about that. And if I could do that over again, right, this is what I would do. How would that be for you? And then we were even able to go back a little bit and help have a conversation to look at the academic class and give her some responsibility for that as well. But I just recognize, I just rolled you over. That's not who I want to be. I didn't give you any of these messages other than you're incapable of making a good choice here. So coming back, saying, hey, I messed up. I blew it. If I could do that over again, this is what I might like to do. So you're safe with me. Foundational. We spend a little bit of time trying to dig into that because it's not a place that most of us start with. We don't oftentimes go, wait, what's going on inside of me? But ask that question, what's going on inside of me? It's causing me to respond this way. The next section here, the next message, child, you're loved no matter what. Hey, Romans 5:8 says, God demonstrates his love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. It wasn't like we were having some great, particular upswing in our behavior, and God's like, hey, y'all are getting better. Maybe you do deserve. It's like, you're a mess. Y'all are a mess. You need a Savior. And I love you. That's love no matter what. And so the key thought here is that misbehavior is the golden opportunity to show true unconditional love. It's really the only opportunity. It's really hard to show unconditional love if somebody deserves it. So misbehavior is a really good opportunity to show people that we love you, we're for you. Doesn't mean we're agreeing with the behavior, okay? But your behavior doesn't define you. I love you. So, just as I was saying, what love is not, okay? Love isn't just about when you act right, you get my love, It's also not this passive, okay, I guess I love you, so you can do whatever you want, right? It's not that either. When our kids mess up, there are a few different ways that we can show them that we love them no matter what. One is just through affection. Like I said, you could put your hand, just like I did with Phil, just put my hand on him. Okay, it's a sign perhaps that he would be able to receive that I'm for him. I'm not against him. Okay, words. I offered some words to Phil. It's like, hey, you get another shot at this. It's all right. Okay, my facial expression. My kids would say to you that the biggest barrier to receiving things from me in terms of your love no matter what is my face. I just have a face, I guess, right? And it's the kind of face that even when I'm thinking, looks like I'm mad. So this is a growing place for me to have to go, I've got to get my face in alignment with really my heart for my kids. And so there would be times where I would just do this, right? Just rub my face to try to loosen it up. And even that, my kids would look at me and go, what are you doing? I'm trying to get my face right here because I want to communicate to you that I'm for you. I'm not against you. So my facial expression was really important. It was an area of work for me. And I'm a slow learner, but it took me probably 6 months to go from this to hands here, face around my face, get it loosened up, and then hands behind my back. With a little, if I could, just a pleasant look on my face, right? That was largely enough to get the behavior to stop because they'd be like, what are you doing? Yeah. What I'm trying to do is set my heart towards you so that so you can receive from me this message, your love no matter what. We're going to deal with the behavior, okay? I just want to keep saying that. It's not like you get away with it, but how I enter into this is really important. What are my kids going to learn from me here? Sense of humor? Sometimes has to be used really, really well because that can go south in a hurry if you use humor and it's not funny to the other person. Empathy is a powerful communicator of your love no matter what. And again, empathy is not agreeing with somebody. It really is understanding somebody. Okay? So it's not agreeing, it's understanding. So let's say that there's a tantruming 5-year-old right here on the floor, yelling, screaming. What do we say to tantruming kids oftentimes? Go to your room. Are you finished? What else? Act your age. I am. I'm 5. Right? Act my age. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. Stop it. Knock it off. That's not okay. those are unhelpful. Right? It doesn't, I mean, if they help, does the child go, oh, right. No, they don't do that at all. They tend to do more of it. Okay, what happens if you're having a rotten day and you say to somebody, I'm having a really awful day, really bad day. I'd never want to relive this day ever again. And somebody says to you, well, deal with it. Get over it. It's not that bad. Okay, it's offensive to us, isn't it? It's offensive. That really, I can feel myself just getting tense over that. So what happens with this child who's on the floor, and we get down on one knee and we go, it's really hard to not be able to play with that toy, isn't it? I don't know. What might they say?
They'll agree usually.
Yes, right, yes. You're really mad, aren't you? Okay, and that tone works with 5-year-olds, not 15-year-olds. Okay, I'm not saying say that to a 15-year-old. Okay, but just for the example, when I get yes from somebody, what in essence they're telling me is, you get me. You know what it's like to feel like I feel right now. Doesn't even mean I agree with you. I just know what it's like to not get what I want right when I want it. I know what that's like. And you do too. So what oftentimes happens to that child is that you'll say, oh, after 2 or 3 yeahs, they'll go, yeah. And you go, come here. You want to come to me? You need a hug? Okay. Oftentimes, not every time, they'll come to you. Okay, and I just find it striking that it's not get away from me until you can act right. It's come here. When you have a real struggle, come on into me. I want you to come to me. Now, going to the room might need to be what ends up happening, but it wouldn't be because I'm mad and sending them there. I might say, what do you need to do to calm down? Okay, what do you need to do when they feel understood? And then they're much more likely to do the things that I'm asking them to do or to help them find a solution to the problem that they're struggling with. Does that make sense? Okay, empathy. It works for teens too. Okay, it just looks different. Right? I just found that with my teenagers, I found myself grunting more. Just kind of like, oh, wow. Ooh. Wow. Right? Again, not sarcastic or patronizing. If our kids sense there's sarcasm or patronization going on, it really infuriates, just like it would us. Right? But just that authentic, I want to know how you're feeling, and I'm going to work to understand it. So yeah, comment.
With the younger kids, it also provides them words.
Yeah.
They can use later.
Right.
Instead of throwing myself on the floor, I can say, I am really angry.
Mm-hmm.
I know what this feeling is like, and putting words gives power to these younger kids.
Love it. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's so good. It provides words to kids, especially young kids who don't have words. They just know that when I'm mad, I throw myself on the floor, and I'm oftentimes coaching parents for 6 months from now, not tomorrow, right? The kids that you have in your influence right now are likely the kids you'll have tomorrow. The same kids today, the same kids tomorrow. There's not a lot that's going to change between today and tomorrow. But when I start to do things differently, with a goal of 6 months or a year from now, this child who's flopping on the floor now looks at me and goes, I am mad. I would go, yes, look at that. They just used their words to tell me how they were feeling, and they didn't hit anybody or throw anything. Awesome, right? I'm mad. It's fantastic. I'd say sometimes our teens don't know the words either. Okay, they're stuck in maybe 2 feelings, happy and mad. Those are your 2. So let's broaden that out a little bit. Are you disappointed? Okay, and recognizing that anger rarely comes alone. It's always got a companion shadow emotion that comes with it. Okay, so when somebody's really angry, there's something else with it. Disappointment maybe, fear, okay, rejection, embarrassment. Okay, it comes out looking angry, but what's really going on underneath there? Okay, trying to sort through that. And that's what empathy is so powerful at doing. Saying, hey, I'm going to offer you a couple thoughts here. Yeah.
You said something with Phil. You said, I know you disagree with that rule. And I felt that would have been like focused on, I don't like this rule, I don't like this rule, I don't
Yeah.
like this rule. And when you say that, and when you show, you're even giving your teens words, but you're just kind of putting that out there, and it shows, I'm still gonna have this rule, I'm still gonna, but I know that you don't like it.
Yep.
And I understand what you're thinking, and I'm with you, even though we're gonna disagree.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, just acknowledging can be powerful. So empathy, what's the emotion? What's important? Like, what do they really want? You really want that toy, or you really want to go, you really want more screen time, and then validate it. Doesn't mean I'm going to give into it, but I am going to validate. Yeah.
I think the validation is really important. I've had so many dorm girls say, like, I can't feel mad. Like, being angry is a sin. Like, wait a minute, that emotion came from somewhere, and what you do with it that becomes sinful. So I think for a lot of them, it's like, oh, I have the right to feel this way, but what do I do with it?
Right. Yeah. And what's the underlying emotion that comes with it? Is it sadness? Is it disappointment? Is it rejection? Is it embarrassment? Is it fear? And then when we get to that, the real piece, that's where the anger came from. Got it. So yeah, really good point. Hebrews 4, 15, 16, take out the double negatives here. For we have a high priest who is able to empathize with our weaknesses. We have Jesus. He knows what it's like to be human, to empathize with us in our weakness. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so we may receive mercy and grace to help us in our time of need. Right? So, help. Let's think about a couple of questions here. Ask yourself, why is this child struggling? If we don't have insight about that, and we just see it as a struggling child, disobedient, misbehaving, we'll just kind of jump on the behavior. But what's really going on? Asking your child, what do you need? What do you need? A lot of times our kids don't know, or they haven't really thought about what they need, or it's so unattainable, they're not even going to say it out loud. But what do you need right now? Those are powerful questions that help our kids recognize what's going on inside of them. That first question that we ask with "You're safe with me," what's going on inside of me? The question that we ask with "Your love no matter what," what's going on with my child? What's it like to be them? Could I get the lens on just for a few minutes from their perspective? And I think, and this isn't in your notes, but there are three reasons that I think that kids oftentimes misbehave. One is that there's something going on with their body. Okay, there's a physical factor. One family that I worked with, they wrote out 3 or 4 questions that when things started to get intense, they would say, "Are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you worried? Are you anxious?" Right? Because we know that when we're hungry, when my blood sugar is low, okay, so now we're teaching our kids. We're going, oh, maybe that's what's going on. It doesn't excuse or say, oh, the misbehavior is now fine, but it starts to help develop some understanding. What's going on? I am really tired, okay? Doesn't excuse, but it now at least goes, oh, what do I need to do to protect other people from my baggage or my tiredness or my hunger? Things like that. Another reason that I think kids misbehave is that there's a payoff. Okay, there's an inadvertent reward that they get, usually an emotional response from an adult. Okay, some intensity. So doesn't mean that, again, we don't respond, but if there's a behavioral challenge in front of us and we give big intensity to it and our kids have to connect, okay, it's like, I think intense emotion is really a lot like fertilizer. What you pay big attention to, you get more of. You just keep growing it. Okay, so how you would come across a kiddo that's really struggling is really important. So pay attention to it. Don't give the big reward for the behavior, the misbehavior, but you can pay attention to it. So, and then the third one is discouragement. And I think discouraged kids are misbehaving kids. And discouragement, I think, really comes back to identity. I've developed this identity about myself, and this is who I am. If you think I'm naughty, if you think that I'm irresponsible, then I'll prove you right. That's what I'll be. And discouraged kids, especially deeply discouraged kids, really don't need to hear too much more about how bad their behavior is. Okay, they already know it. Okay, so they need courage into them, not courage removed from them. Discouragement versus encouragement. I'm going to give you courage for the challenges that you face. So I'd like you to just take a moment, consider a persistent behavior challenge, and just ask yourself the question. So pick one in your mind, something that you might encounter on a semi-regular basis, and just consider, what's it like to be the child in that situation? What might they be needing, thinking, wanting? And just jot down a note or two about that. Just a couple thoughts about love no matter what. Romans 8:38 and 39. I'm convinced that neither life nor death, angels nor demons, present nor the future, nor any powers, heights or depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God which is in Christ Jesus our Lord. And there's nothing that will separate you from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. We wrote a parenting rendition of your love no matter what with Romans 8:38 and 39, and it goes something like this. For I am convinced that neither arguing nor defiance, neither sibling conflict nor disrespect, neither bad grades nor failure, neither whining nor lying, neither forgetfulness or messes, nor any other misbehavior will be able to separate you from my love or from God's amazing love. This is what happens living in community. These things are going to happen. And I just like the visual of even being able to say to our kids, look, this stuff is going to happen. It doesn't define you. We're going to figure this stuff out. Okay, we're going to move into, as we talk about the next messages, about messages of accountability. But your behavior isn't defined by what, or your value and love are not defined by what you have done. This is actually on our website, connectedfamilies.org. So there's a free download if you're interested in taking a look at that a little bit more closely. Do you have any demands that kids make? Familiar with demands? I know y'all are hanging in here really well. I mean, it's post-lunch. Starting to get a little warm, right? But what demands? What are common demands that you might have? Dessert? Yes. Right. If you're gonna fight over something or demand something, let's go for dessert, right?
More screen time.
Screen time. More screen time. No dorm jobs. Yes. Candy. Nice. How much you can get. Here's what I want you to do. I want to do a little exercise here. And so it's going to be step by step. All right. So just follow instructions one step at a time here. First instruction, find a partner. Pair up. Okay, yep, that means you might actually have to move somewhere, but find somebody. So here's, one of you is going to be the adult parent here, and one of you is going to be a child So raise your hand if you're going to be the adult in this little scenario. Who's the adult? Okay. You have an adult over there? Gotcha. Okay. So here's the deal. Now when I give this assignment in the States, it usually is one specific situation, but I don't think it's probably the same situation for each of you here. So I'm going to ask for you to determine a specific demand. The child is going to make a demand of the parent. So just don't make this complicated, okay? It could be real quick, screens, chores, dessert, whatever you want it to be, but just the child is going to make a demand. So decide what the demand is going to be. Okay, got the demand? All right, so here's what I want you to do. Parents, your child is going to demand something of you. All right? Do not give in. Right? Do not give in to the demand. Child, you've got this thing you really, really want. All right? And it's right there for the pickings. And maybe this is your day. Okay? Ask for it. Do not stop, okay? Get it. Parents, do not give in, all right? Kids, don't give up, all right? Keep at it. All right, just going to do a 30-second little something here, right? Ready? Begin. Oh. Okay, good. Y'all make it sound a lot more fun than I remember. Smiles, laughing. Okay, so just quickly, what was it like to be the parent in that scenario? The adult? Challenging? Normal? I like that, yeah. You weren't fast, loud, and big enough, okay? Gotcha. How about for the kids? What was that like? It was what? Okay, annoying. She didn't say yes. Nice job. Don't give in. Wow, okay. She gave in, right? Frustrating. Yeah, so it doesn't sound like it was all that pleasurable for anybody, right? And, just a tip here, side FYI, when you have an opportunity to be the kid or the parent in these role plays, choose the kid. Right? It's so much fun, okay? Okay, so anyway, second time around. Kids, you do the same thing, right? You're going to respond just as you might respond to whatever is being said to you. So you've got this demand, make the demand, make it clear, make it loud. Parents, hey, you have the goal of sending two messages to your child in this situation. Child, you are safe with me, and you're loved no matter what. Okay, so that's your primary goal. You're going to send those two messages in this little role play. Okay, got it? Ready? Begin. Okay, let's stop there. That's real fun. Okay, so for the kids, what was that like, kids? What was it like if you were a child? You got the dessert. Wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. What else? Okay. What made it less of a war? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so it didn't feel like you were pitted against each other. Cool. Disarming. What? How so? Or what was?
I mean, I was already thinking of the next thing I was going to say, because the way she responded didn't give me an opportunity to say it.
Yeah. All right. Right. Hard to fight with, right? Somebody who's not looking for a fight, somebody who's really just looking to understand you, can be hard to fight with, to argue with. Yeah. You felt like she listened? Yeah. Asked a couple questions. How about for the parents? What was that like? Calmer. Yeah, maybe had a little bit of a plan. Okay, so, just a quick and easy example of what it looks like to offer your safe, your love, before we get into what are we going to do about this particular situation. So just take a moment. What's your response? What would you like to do to make sure that the kids in your sphere of influence know they are loved no matter what? One or two things that maybe stand out for you. Yeah, you can move back to your original spots if you like. If you'd like to just stand up and move around a little bit, you can. I don't really want to take a break because we'll lose a whole bunch of people, but just to stand up, if you need to move, stretch a little bit, right, you can do that. Okay, well let's get rolling again. Just have a few minutes left here. So we move into messages of accountability. The message, child, you are called and capable. Called, the Genesis 12, 1 through 3. I will bless you, so you'll be a blessing. These two little girls, they're twins. Their parents came to Connected Families for some parenting help, and I provided some coaching for them. And Lynn Jackson, one of the founders of Connected Families, provided some coaching for them. And these girls were so grateful for Connected Families helping their parents that they do a fundraiser every year now for Connected Families. It's like, what? Right? So they sell the crushed ice, flavored ice, and last year they contributed over $1,000 to Connected Families through their fundraiser, right? So it's the interesting side of things. You're like, my parents need help, right? And they were just grateful. And it's been really, really cool to watch that family just make some shifts and turns here along the way. So the capable part, Ephesians 2:10, we're God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works that God prepared in advance for us to do. You are capable of doing these good works. So the key thought, that I can find and build strengths, even in my child, even in misbehavior. Can find and build strengths in my child, even in misbehavior. It takes talent to misbehave. Right? Yeah, and oftentimes that talent that it is taking to misbehave is coming out in some unrefined ways in our kids. Okay, we talk about a concept called the gift gone awry. Okay, there's a God-given talent gone off track. And as parents, as influencers, we can call out the talent and help set up ways for our kids to use that talent in healthy and helpful ways. So, you start thinking about the names that we call kids at times. They're so stubborn, strong-willed. Maybe there's a different name that we can call them and then help set them up to be successful in that area. So one of my daughters would say, she would put her hands on her hips sometimes and go, "Dad, do you think I'm stubborn?" Right. I mean, it was almost that response. It's like it's a rhetorical question. You've got to be kidding me. But I know that if I respond to it in a way that, yeah, you need to shape up, okay, it likely will produce more of what I'm already getting. And so I would look at her sometimes and say, "You know what, I don't think you're so stubborn." I'd say, I think that what I would call you is determined. You're one of the most determined kids I know. Sometimes you use that determination for really good things and sometimes not so good things. But I like it. I love that you're determined. Okay, and then I try to call out times where she's been determined in healthy and helpful and appropriate ways. Affirm that gift. Okay, and then we're going to deal with it in terms of responsibility if it's a misbehavior, but I can affirm certain things. And this is, I think, one of the things that just changed my perspective in parenting so much, and even working with high-risk teens, was to call out a gift set that wasn't being used well. Okay, when two kids came running to this outreach facility that I was working at, and they had, things stuffed in their pockets. I wasn't sure what was going on, but then I saw the police car go by real slowly, and I was like, oh, right? I mean, I can lecture them all I want about not stealing, and when I finally figured out what was going on, I just said, well, how did you do it? I mean, these are guys that were missing school on a regular basis. They were big troublemakers when they were in school. It's like, well, how did you do it? Oh, yeah, I mean, we've been watching that place for 3 weeks. Okay, there's a talent, right? Observation skills. And when this person went there and they did this and then he did that, then we knew this was our time. And so we watched, and we just watched it. Okay, it's good gifts, really good gifts, used in some really poor ways. And so when I could come around that and affirm and acknowledge giftedness and then set tracks up to use the giftedness in healthy or helpful ways, there's more hope that starts to emerge from that. And my kids would get really discouraged because I would be really discouraged. And I'd say, when are you going to stop doing that? You need to, just over and over and over. And nothing was changing. All right, we started to call out that God-given talent. You can go through Scripture and you can look at the Apostle Paul when he was Saul. He was using all sorts of good, amazing gifts for evil. God got a hold of his heart, meets Jesus, and he uses his passion, his zealousness, his leadership skills. Okay, he uses it for God's glory. All right, you can look at Moses. You can look right down the line of biblical characters who had gifts gone awry. God got a hold of their heart. They used them in healthy and appropriate ways. So think about this. If you're going to be a good whiner, I mean, what talent do you need to have if you're going to excel at whining? What's the gift? Tenacity, persistence, right? Good whiners, they read the room. They understand who to whine to and who not to. Right? They wouldn't whine to everybody in this room. They'd whine to like the 2 or 3 most likely people to give them what they wanted. They're intuitive, right? And they keep at it, right? Persistent. So what's the gift underneath that? And what skills might they need to be able to use those gifts in healthy ways? If you're going to lie and be an effective liar, what do you need to do? What are some skills behind lying? Creativity. Read the room, right? I also have to have a good memory. Who did I tell what? How did this work? Okay? Then again, it's not making light of a sinful behavior as much as what's behind this? What can I do? What can I say that might allow me to have relationship to set a course that's a little different for this child? How about arguing and back-talking? Competitive. justice advocate, persuasive, passionate. I always thought confidence. Like I would look at a 7-year-old kid and think, I could squish you with my thumb, right? And you're going, no! It's like, what? Okay, so, with that, with one of the families that I worked with, the arguing, back-talking, the parents would keep saying, that's so disrespectful, you don't talk to me like that, you go to your room until you can act right. That's so disrespectful, that's not okay, you go to your room until you can learn to act right. So disrespectful, okay, it's not changing, okay? What is the child supposed to do? What skills can we be developing in them? And so they looked at this child and they would say, you know what, I love your passion and your direct communication skills. You're a passionate and direct communicator. Okay, how you use that right now? Disrespectful. But I like that you're passionate, and I like that you communicate directly. That's a really good skill. Here's what I'd like you to do, okay, as we move into responsible, just a little bit of a taste around that with this family and this child. I want you to go into the other room, and I want you to come back, and when you come back, I want you to be really passionate with me, and I want you to be very, very direct. You tell me exactly what you think, and then I also want you to be respectful. See if you can do that. Okay, and this was a child who would call her parents stupid over and over. You're so stupid. You're so stupid. You're so stupid. So she goes out, she comes back in, and she goes, Dad. You can just see the wheels grinding, right? It's like, passion, directness, yet respectful. Okay. That decision that you made, it wasn't very smart, right? Okay. It's progress, right? It sounds like you've got some ideas that you might want to offer about things that you would want to, maybe have decided some different things about that, or some ideas that you want me to hear. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. But again, it puts us now on a track of having our child know what to do. We're affirming this gift, but it's gone off track. How are we going to help pull it back on track? And fairness and justice. Okay, another one. Usually fairness and justice comes out as fairness and justice for me, right? It's not fairness and justice for everybody, it's just fairness and justice for me. I didn't get as many pieces of candy, even though yesterday you got the whole bag. That doesn't matter. Okay, so thinking about that, the heart of the gospel is justice, and just God's justice, he cares so deeply. Right? So it's a God-given gift gone off track. Now, we would spend a lot of time working with one of our kiddos about fairness and justice for others, right? Let's go to the playground. You go to the playground, you see a lot of unfairness and unjust things going on. So we'd say, hey, sit down with me here for a moment. Can you point out any things out there that are unfair? That wasn't fair. That's not fair. So, oh my goodness, you can see what's not fair for other people too, can't you? That's a good gift. Okay, if all we do is go, life isn't fair, deal with it, it will not help our kids grow in their understanding of how to use that gift for good. It's a good gift, just used in selfish and unrefined ways. So how do we help them? Affirm the gift, set them up for success. All right. A couple things. You can choices, so when we get confronted a little bit with in-your-face demands, usually there's, choices are a really good way of helping our kids get out of the power struggle. Okay, we can get into power struggles pretty easily, but offering a couple choices. Well, you can eat this or you can eat this. I don't want that. I hear you. That's hard to not have a choice that you really like, isn't it? But here are your choices. You can have this or you can have this. Okay? When I would get slumped shoulders and it's almost like they got it. Okay? Yeah, those are your choices. And maybe next time you'll have a different one. Okay? But these are your options. And then I think about solving problems together. One of the most important things, I think, from a working with kids perspective is to invite wisdom growing and capacity building in our kids to think for themselves. And questions can do that. Think about the number of times you tell kids in your sphere of influence something they already know. Lots of times, right? Anything from the morning routine to the bedtime routine to what needs to happen, with equipment and sports and the whole deal. And I just wonder, rather than making statements, to start asking a couple questions. What needs to happen at bedtime? Would the kids that you work with know how to answer that? When's curfew? When's lights out? Would they know? Yeah. We oftentimes set ourselves up to get into power struggles by telling people things that they already know, where it's easy pickings to just have come back and go, no. It's like, hey, what time's bedtime? Oh yeah, for little ones. And what do you do? What do you do first? And then what? And then what? Oh, and then what happens if you're in bed on time? Then what happens? Yeah, you get a story. Awesome. So what do you want to do first? Okay, it's a little different than me barking out the orders and then my kids just kind of going, I like to call it parent deafness. It's, no, I'm deaf to those things that those people over there are saying. Just going to kind of do what I do. So asking questions. I asked Phil a question, right? I was not going to say to him, the first time I might have said, it's, you're past and you shouldn't be doing that. Ask a question. Phil, what is your understanding of the situation here? What did we agree on? What's the expectation?
Sometimes you discover they didn't know, and you're like, aha, I found the problem.
Yeah, right. And if they don't know, then they don't know. Now we know they don't know, and we can inform, and we can go ahead and make the statement, right? But asking those questions is a powerful way of helping our kids grow in capacity to have to think for themselves. So, your response, what would you like to do to make sure that your kids know that they're called and capable? What's one or two things you just jot down that might have stood out in that, from that perspective? Yeah.
Question, I might be jumping the gun, but what if they choose to make a decision that isn't the wisest?
Yeah, if you make a decision that isn't the wisest, we move to the top of that pyramid, where we start talking about, child, you're responsible for your actions. You're responsible for your life. I'm going to offer some correction. So that's up next. So how are we doing? It's making sense, right? We'll get to the place where most everybody wants to go to right away, the correction piece. But I think these foundational aspects are really important. By the time I get to correction, if I have been safe and I've communicated, I'm all in for you, I love you, and I've called out some talent and giftedness here, when I get the correction, I'm usually pretty empathetic about it. It's like, oh man, shoot, you made that choice. Okay, I don't have to be big and loud and angry. Okay, especially if there's been clarity about what the expectation is. So let me give you just, I won't go through all of these things, but they're just in the PowerPoint. If you don't get our parenting tips, I would encourage you to take a look. connectedfamilies.org. Parenting tips, we send them out once a week, and we work really hard at providing really good parent content. And so how many people get our parenting tips? Do you get them, Emily?
I get emails.
You get emails, okay? I'm going to say yes to that. So you get them. So, but they come out on a regular basis, monthly, weekly, and I always tell people, sign up for a month. If you don't like them, they're not helpful, then just unsubscribe and no problem. But just I always think about it in terms of just it's a little nugget of a reminder of the parent that we want to be or how we want to influence our kids. And they're pretty short, no longer than 700 words, so something you can read in a few minutes. We've got a couple books. How to Grow a Connected Family is the first one, and then Discipline That Connects with Your Child's Heart, which is the book that I've got right here. We've got some online courses, so Discipline That Connects, I think, is one that Tiffany took. Ashley, did you take that as well? No? Yeah. So online courses, you can do those in small groups as well, but really this content, digging in community, I just think you've got such a unique and special situation and experience here that parenting and raising and communicating with kids in community, holding each other accountable or to the things and the ways that you want to work with kids is really, really important. So, and then we do parent coaching as well. So, and I coach with parents all around the world and missionaries oftentimes as well. So, and that's usually set up in 4-session packages. So let's talk about correction. So the message, child, you're responsible for your actions. And oftentimes in misbehavior, there's a punishment. Like there's a misbehavior and almost immediate punishment, forced apology, sorry, okay, sorry, sorry, I said I'm sorry. Oh, okay, those are always heartfelt and effective. Time out, sent to the room, spanking, lose the privilege. You're never going to play with that again. Okay, usually when we're hot and we're not in that calm, slow, low, and listen place, or fast, large, and loud, we give consequences out that we can't enforce. Our kids know we can't enforce it, or we will pay a significant price if we do. I always found it unique that we would ground teenagers so they stay home with me when they're mad. It's like, okay, I'm not sure I like that, how that plays out. So, but this is oftentimes pretty typical. Misbehavior direct into the punishment, and we're going to stop that, knock that off. So, what holding kids responsible is not, is not the shaming piece or the big, I think about the context that I grew up in. It was oftentimes the Bible was banged over your head, which can be a really repulsive thing around faith when, the Bible says, kids, obey your parents. You're not obeying me, right? And now as an adult, I find it interesting that my kids would quote the verse that I was responsible for, okay, as a child, was to honor my mother and my father, but the one that they were responsible for, they never quoted, which is don't exasperate your children, right? But I was getting severely exasperated, okay, around this situation. So how do we do that? All right, not what I really am after is just making sure that when we're holding our kids accountable, that we're coming from a place of those 4 messages, of the three messages preceding that. I think we lose the power of the consequence when we're bigger and angry. Okay, then I become the issue, and the issue gets lost. If I am big and upset, then I'm the problem, and the problem somehow escapes us. Right? So the key thought here is effective discipline puts responsibility on the child to right their wrongs. So putting responsibility on the child to right their wrongs. So Galatians 6:1 says, if someone's caught in sin, those of you who are spiritual should restore that person gently. Okay, and Galatians 6:7 says, God won't be mocked, a man reaps what he sows. Our kids really need to understand there's a sowing and a reaping principle in life. Okay, but then we think about, what does gentle restoration look like? How do we help restore that child into right relationship with us and those around us? So there's a misbehavior. From a connected family's perspective, we look at a misbehavior, and then there's the opportunity to make it right. You have done something that has made it wrong. You've broken relationship, trust maybe. You've broken something physically. Okay, there's an opportunity to make it right. If you've made it wrong, it's your responsibility, child, to make it right. So there are 3 questions that I would encourage us to ask when we're holding somebody accountable, right? First one, what's the natural impact? Like, what would happen if you didn't do anything? Is there a natural impact? And there almost always is a natural impact relationally. If I hit you, there's a strong likelihood you won't want to be around me. Okay, there's a break, a relational break. If I lie to you, there's a really good chance you won't trust me. Okay, I'm going to be less trustworthy. Okay, so what's the natural impact? Secondly, what would make it right? Like, what action might make it right? And we talk about make it right consequences if you made it wrong with your words. You've hurt somebody with your words. It's your responsibility then to make it right with your words. And we might say if you insult somebody or you call somebody a name, what's 4 kind and true things that you can say to that person that will build them back up? If you hurt somebody physically, okay, what's something that you can do to bless them with your hands if you've hurt them with your hands or you've knocked over the Lego set or whatever it is? What do you need to do to make it right? One family we worked with, they were big chocolate milk drinkers, and they knew that somebody was making it right when they would hear a spoon clanging in the glass, right? Because that was, I'm going to serve you. I've hurt you, and now I'm going to bless you by serving you. So there may need to be an apology in there. Apologies are good, okay? But when our kids are sincere and ready to give that apology, not just a forced, say you're sorry so we can sweep this under the rug and move on. It's like, so that make it right. What action would make it right? And then so here's a quick example of a family that I was coaching with. The parents came down the stairs to find this scene. Sister with a big back massager on brother. And the backstory is that sister pushed brother off the trampoline. And his feelings were really hurt. And they came together. Okay, this is after a year of working at sibling conflict and making things right. They talked about it amongst themselves, and they decided that 10 minutes of a back massager would make right what she had made wrong. All right? So this is a beautiful picture from my perspective of not running to the adult to say, he pushed me, she pushed me off the trampoline, and then the adult coming in and going, well, you shouldn't have done that, and what did you do to deserve that, and blah, 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 and back and forth. It's like, no, we want to teach you how to reconcile. And so here's the make it right consequence. They came up with it, so they sent me this picture saying, look what we came down to. All that year of hard work of helping our kids reconcile is starting to pay dividends. So another thing that I would mention, I mentioned it when we were talking about You're Safe With Me, is this idea of do-overs. Hey, what would make it right? Sometimes a do-over is really helpful. So you likely don't have this issue here like we might in Minnesota, but the entryway in a Minnesota house gets really clogged down with boots, snow boots, snow pants, mittens, hats, scarves, strewn all over the place. And this is a common occurrence in our house. And I would get so frustrated with that, right? I am a rule follower, and I expect other people to follow the rules as well. And the rule is, kids, where does this stuff go? Right? And they know where it goes, but it just goes all over the place. So here's the interesting thing about us as parents, as dorm parents, as investors in kids' lives, is that we oftentimes know the challenges that we're going to face. Like if I ask you, what behavioral challenges will you face in the next couple days or weeks? You'd likely be able to list off a couple. And yet when we see them, we act surprised. Right? We're like, what? Why is this stuff laying all over the place? When in reality, if it were clean, we should be going, what happened here? Right? So in some ways, we set ourselves up. I was reading a book called The Golfing Mind, which didn't help my golf game much, but it helped my parenting. And there's an equation in it, F equals E minus R. frustration equals expectations minus results. And I was becoming really frustrated because my expectations were here and my results were down here. So it's like, hold on a second. I know this is coming. I know when my kids walk in the door today, all this stuff is going to be thrown all over the place. And I can either respond to it by going, what is this? You know better than this. You get this stuff picked up right now, get over it, right? I mean, you just feel that. It's like venting for parents. It doesn't really help our kids grow or learn. So I had a plan, and I like plans. So I knew it was coming, and so I said, I wonder what we could do to help our kids learn how to put stuff where it's supposed to go. So they all came walking in, and we had made some cookies, and so the house was just fragrant with chocolate chip cookies, and the kids smelled it right away, and I waited until every last bit of stuff was off them, and they went running. I said, hold on a second, wait. Where does this stuff go? Okay, 2 kids always plead ignorance. Oh, right? And then I've got one kid who's a truth teller. I love her, right? She's like, on the hooks, right? And you're like, right, and where are they right now? Yeah, they're right here, yeah. Okay, well, here's the deal. I want you to put it all back on, go back out to the bus stop, and then come on back in and put it where it's supposed to go. You just have a do-over, right? Because I want you to practice doing this the right way. So it's okay. It's all right. Just get it all back on. Oh, right. You get the shoulder slump. Oh, complaining. They go back out and they come back. And I said, hey, and tomorrow, if stuff is laying all over the place, you'll have a double do-over, right? Did you know we got to triple do-over? Right? Triple do-over. But I'm not big and angry about it, but I am inviting you to learn how to do this the right way. And I'll be patient enough with you to have you do it again and again and again. And then what's the rationale? Why would we do this? Okay, it's not just because it's my preference, but there's a respect, there's a living with other people sorts of thing. There's lots of reasons that we could do this, but making sure they understand that. But do-overs can be a helpful way for our kids to learn to do the thing the right way. Okay, and they'll call out your stuff when you don't do it right. Okay, so just know if my jacket doesn't end up on the hook, it's like, Dad, you need a do-over, right? Sometimes I do need do-overs, okay? So, last question. If necessary, what related loss of privilege could guide a child to make it right? Okay, and this isn't just a quick snap of a decision, like, you're going to lose that. It's like, no, child, it's your responsibility to make it right. And when I mess up, I oftentimes don't want to make it right away. I'm a pretty proud person. And so I don't like admitting I'm wrong. And so there's some time that might need to pass for me to be ready to make it right. And so giving that time or space. But in our family, if you weren't ready to make it right, your freedoms were cut short, right? You weren't able to go and do those things that you really wanted to do until relationship was restored. And we would use hand signals, like when we're in right relationship with people, we're like this. And then when somebody or somebodies do things that make it, that break relationship, we're like this. So the question really is, what do you want to do to get back into right relationship? It's reconciliation, really. And so the beautiful thing about it is that our kids, they don't have a junior Holy Spirit, right? The Holy Spirit is active. And so sometimes that space or that time allows for them to come to grips with making it right. Okay, I'm also offering them some tools on how to make it right. It's not just figure it out on your own, but we would have lots of conversations about what making it right might look like. But what would you want to do to make it right? So I would hear yelling and screaming in the other room, and then I'd hear one of my kids say, Dad, I'm going to go to the park. And I'd go, oh, wow, that sounds really exciting. Hey, but I heard some things in the other room that kind of made it sound like your relationship might be like this. Where do you think it is right now? Okay, and one of my kids would go, it's like this. Right? I said, well, what would your sister say? Oh, yeah, I know, right? That's hard. but I'd love to see you go to the park, but when you're ready to make it right, then you'll be able to do that. And then you'd hear, sorry, I said I'm sorry. Okay, you go, okay, we're working on heart issues here. Sounds like you might just be a little bit more angry than you are sorry. Is that right? I mean, okay, until we kind of get I like to think 80%. I'm not looking for the tears and Kleenex box, I'm sorry, but yeah, just get into the practice, the routine of owning that. So at Connected Families, we would just look at the misbehavior. There's a natural impact. The desire then is to make it right. So if you've made it wrong, child, then it's your responsibility to make it right. And sometimes you won't want to make it right, and I get that. And you might lose a privilege until you come back into making it right. So that's just the framework. And I work really hard at getting out of the prescriptive, here's what you do in every situation. I don't know what to do in every situation. And there are times where I messed up and I wish I could have done it differently, right? But the framework that guides as we walk into relationship, you're safe with me. You are loved no matter what. Messages of grace. You are called and capable. You are responsible for your actions. Messages of accountability. When all we have is grace, we tend to get some pretty mushy kids, right? It's like, we don't hold anybody accountable. And if all we have is accountability, okay, we tend to get kids who are either driven perfectionists because their value depends on their doing, or kids who just give up because they can't do it. Just give up. The bar's too high, right? So this balance and this mix of these messages, this framework is something that I would just present to you as a community, living in this community, in terms of how you move forward with this. I don't know exactly, but I think it's interesting to just kind of get the common language out there, and just for you to consider what this might look like. So let's just engage a little bit just with some questions, thoughts, comments. What are the things that are kind of going through your mind? Because if they're going through your mind, there's a pretty good chance they might be going through somebody else's as well. There have got to be questions about accountability, right? Whenever I do this talk, it's like, yeah, but how do we hold them responsible, right? There's still got to be some accountability around that. But yeah, go ahead.
One issue is often it turns out one parent becomes the truth even the other one's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that causes a huge set of problems.
Yeah,
So we
can.
have to learn to be both. In some ways, our own insecurities and struggles.
Yeah.
We really have to deal with those before we can parent.
Which brings us to you're safe with me, right? Which brings it back to me, and I really appreciate you saying that, because it's really easy to go, that's really nice. What a really nice framework. Anyway, what are we going to do about that kid, right? Without going, hold on a second, what's going on inside of me? Okay, and if you're parenting with a partner, it's almost clockwork in that somebody's going to be really good at the bottom part of that pyramid and somebody's going to be really good at the top. And I'm a top pyramid guy. I'm a rules-oriented person, right? My wife, she's really nice. I'm trying to learn how to be nice. She's really nice, but what we oftentimes will see is that the person that's maybe more autocratic, rules-oriented, maybe the person that's more relational, permissive, that when one parent sees the other person doing their thing, so I become more rules-oriented, my wife looks at that and goes, well, he's just a meanie, right? I mean, he's just always so. And then I look at her, she's being soft over here, I go, well, look at that. If these kids don't learn some discipline around here from somebody, it's not going to be her, so I'm going to move over here. And we start to move away from each other, right? But the beautiful thing here is that there's also the potential to move toward each other. Okay, what can I learn from you about being a really safe and loving person that I'm missing? Because my kids would look at me and say, that's the part I need to work on. Okay, so What can I learn from you? How do you do that? And then how do I encourage my wife in this example to be okay with holding people accountable, really following through on the rules, and holding my kids to be responsible. So it's a regular challenge, but again, it can drive you apart, but it can also pull you together. Help me understand how you do that. And I think it's really a powerful thing for our kids to see us work through that a little bit. Yeah.
As far as the make it right goal, you, as a rule, give the privilege back. Do you sometimes just have to be discerning enough to keep that privilege away for a while, even if they have made it right?
Yeah, good question. Some of it's around clarity, what the expectation is. So if it's a repeated offense, so take screens. We're probably a little bit more on the strict side in terms of just screen access. But it would be really clear as to how my kids could have screens. Okay, so I always wanted to be clear. Here's the goal. If having a screen is important to you, then and it's attainable. Okay, I'm not talking about a 5-year-old right now. I'm talking about a teenager who could have a screen but isn't ready for one. I want to see if I can map that out a little bit. Well, what are the things that we would need to see in order for us to be able to say yes to that? If it's a repeated trust issue, so with a screen or something, like Phil, for example, right? If this were a recurring thing, I might say, you know what, the 2 days, I think we might need to extend that out a little bit. Not because I'm mad at you, but because it seems like you're having a hard time with this, and so I'm going to move it out to a week or to 2 weeks, or whatever that might look like. And then, but again, if it's something that's just crazily abused, I might just hold it off and not even give a time frame on when you get that back. But I also want to be clear about what I would need to see in order for that to be able to come back. So I think the difference between helping kids understand that responsibility is linked to privileges. Privileges are linked to responsibility. So you show me your responsibility, and I will show you all the age-appropriate privileges you ought to have. But it's not just a right. And I was talking earlier with a couple people about an interesting exercise. And this is one that I would encourage you to do because it's fascinating to me. Ask your kids what their rights are. What are your rights? Living in the dorm, living in my house, and prepare yourself, right? Because I have 5, and my kids would have like 15. And these are my rights. High-speed internet, an iPhone. Okay? It's like, though, wait a second. But and again, not patronizing or sarcastic, but really for information. I just am curious, what are the rights that you have? And then we can share those a little bit. And then what are the privileges that you want and that we'd be willing to give you based on how responsible you are? And we'll find in life that most things aren't just given to you, right? There are responsibilities that lead to privileges. So I think you can extend that a little bit, use some discernment. I like to ask questions, not just tell kids things if I can. Like, how would you know you were ready to have this back? What kinds of things would I be seeing? And more importantly, might you even be seeing that would say, I'm ready for that again? So, yeah.
One thing that I found while challenging is we often get a whole new bolus of kids into the dorm. So having that pyramid where the kids feel safe with you
Yeah.
isn't necessarily built up yet,
Right.
and yet we're applying these rules to start at the top.
Yeah.
And I haven't really found a great way to square that yet.
Mm-hmm.
More of a comment than an observation.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty unique. So how do you build safety in your setting? I mean, new kids coming in. How do you do that?
I think we have a common language and it becomes part of the culture.
Yeah.
I think there's an element that I think part of my responsibility is to verbalize that to them. I mean, to start off with in my classroom, that this is a place where you are safe. And then I have to really make sure that I'm following through on that. So,
Right.
you know, when they,
Right.
you know, but it happens faster if I say it out loud first. And I'm guaranteed that somewhere within that first week, then somebody's going to test it.
Yep.
And that allows me to demonstrate it. But if I don't say it, it might be 3 weeks before they start to believe it. Whereas if I say it out loud, it often gets demonstrated within a couple days.
Yeah.
And it has to be continually demonstrated, I know, but I do find that first time of saying it, somebody pushing something, getting what, you know, and then them actually going, oh, like she really means it's safe here. Moves it along faster.
Sure. Yeah. And I wonder about the your love no matter what poster as well. Hey, these things are going to happen in the dorms. People are going to say some things. You're going to miss, curfew, or you're going to whatever. It doesn't define your value. Okay? We're going to deal with it because we're going to hold you accountable because that's what we do. So there would be times of having conversations with the teenagers that I would work with. About, I would ask them a question. What message would you be receiving from me if you stole this? We would have things stolen from us on occasion. If you stole this and there was no consequence for that. And would you think I really cared if I wasn't willing to hold you accountable? Some kids go, yep, right? I know, it seems like that would be true, but it's actually not. And one of the framings that I like to use too is that my job is to really help you understand what the real world is like. And if I'm not simulating what real life is like in some ways, then I'm doing you a disservice, and you're going to have a really hard time understanding what the real world is like when you come into it. So we're just trying to help you understand what real life is like. But that safety piece is so important, right? And you're right, it takes time. But I like the saying it out loud. I like the framing too of your love no matter what. And you can write your own. What are the things that happen that are unique to RVA that, maybe even unique to the dorms? You are loved no matter what. Neither this nor that, nor this nor that. So, yeah, other thoughts, comments?
Well, it's not just that we don't have that heart history that we have with our kids, but there are cultural things around here that you have to, and those take even longer.
Yeah.
Not just even to understand where they're coming from, but and we talked about this with Christy too in the classroom, like that in some cultures the kids, and she knows it now, will not ask you a direct question, so then she has to many times just go to them and see, like, you can actually ask me a direct question, I might have to go to you.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing in the dorms, that sometimes we're like, some cultures, they would not even answer to, they just like happily pretend that they have it together and happily fall
Yeah.
through the cracks, so it's like even the cultural sensitivity, it makes it tricky because sometimes
Right.
it takes pursuing that kid and actually convincing them, like, yes, you are safe with me. It takes so long.
Yeah, and right, just understanding the cultural context that somebody's coming from, being a student, a learner of them. Yeah.
How long, so if I've been doing this now, I'm sure maybe you've dealt with parents who have done it not well for a while and built patterns in their family. Generally, I know there's no, like, you can't set your watch by, but generally, how long does it take to reverse those patterns?
So how long does it take to reverse patterns? How much lotion? Buy stock now, right? Lotions prices are going up. Yeah, here's the big shift for me. When I laid my head on the pillow one night and I thought, today I was the parent that I wanted to be. Not everything went great, smoothly, but I was respectable. And my kids respect me, I could respect myself and how I dealt with things. It became kind of the sense for me is like, this is how I want to parent, regardless of how my kids, what they do. Because what it starts to expose in my heart sometimes is that I'm doing these things to try to get you to change. So in some ways, I felt like I was doing the changings to manipulate my kids to behave better so my life would be easier. And wow, just trying to sort through that with the Lord sometimes, like, what's going on here? And when I finally came to the place of going, no, this is how I want to view relationships, not just parenting, but my relationship with my wife and relationship with friends. And I was on our church board for a number of years and just try to introduce, how are we going to engage with each other? How would we know we're safe people in the church? How would we know that love, no matter what, is coming out of us in this environment? How do we call out good gifts and talents? And then how do we reconcile when we blew it? So when you start to think about, how far out, I oftentimes think about 6 months to a year, that I'm coaching for that. I'm making changes, but not just changes in me, but now I'm also coaching my kids. Do they know how to resolve conflict? For the one family that I showed the picture of the back massager, that's a year-long process of plenty of opportunities to teach conflict resolution, right? They come daily, multiple times a day, so just being intentional. And then the last thing I'd say about that is just give yourself a break, right? It's really hard. You have a really hard job. And sometimes you need to have grace and mercy and receive that for yourself. And it's hard to pass on grace and mercy and truth to other people if you haven't been able to receive it yourself. So when you blow it, sometimes just saying, I blew it. But here's what I want to do differently. Okay? It's kind of moving forward, picking up, moving forward. 6 months to a year, I don't know. That's my... When kids are parented or raised in a certain environment in a certain way, it's not like they go, well, we signed up for this program too. Right? They didn't sign up for any changes. You're the ones doing the changing, and now you're expecting them to kind of go in line. And one of the things that I would say to parents oftentimes is that when you make these changes, sometimes your kid's behavior will get worse. It's like, really? So from a family systems perspective, family systems are really centered around predictability and familiarity. So when something becomes familiar and predictable, doesn't matter if it's healthy or unhealthy, functional or dysfunctional, it's predictable and it's familiar. I know what to expect when I do this. And you become unpredictable and unfamiliar, like, what? Blow this thing up. We got to get these people back. What happened to them? Right? And then when you're consistent and you make the changes and you kind of walk through that, it's like this new familiarity, this new consistency kind of starts to follow around that familiarity. How about other comments, thoughts?
I think another challenge, not just here at RVA, but in many situations, is that doing things in these types of ways just takes more time. And I think we have to be more intentional with our time, whether that's planning those clear expectations or taking that time to sit and talk with that child.
Yeah.
But that's very hard in our world today.
Mm-hmm.
Fight against the busyness or to figure out, even in a context like this, figure out how can we implement this? What does this mean for our timing?
Right. Yep. Yeah, and that I recognize that and I agree with it. I think the time that we're going to spend, depending on the challenges, some behavioral challenges we're going to spend a lot of time on anyway, right? So, and I'm a pragmatist when it comes to change. There's the solution-focused brief therapy, which I have practiced for many years, has 3 principles to it, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I like it because it's really simple, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you find something that works, do more of that. And if you find something that doesn't work, do something different. Right? Profound, if you really start to practice that, find something that doesn't work, do something different. So I think you're going to put time and energy in, and then it becomes really a reorganizing of your time. But people will say, well, after a session like this, and this is exposure to ideas. I mean, a workshop like this isn't going to change anybody's life. Okay, it's just exposure. What do we want to do as a community to dig in? Are these the right kinds of ideas to be considering? How would we want to do this? There are a lot of ways to dig in deeper. But yeah, this is just some exposure for people to go, oh, I wonder if this makes sense. So I grew up in Iowa during farm auctions, and so when people make I want to just get in my bidding. He was scratching his head. I'm like, up, hip, fire, yep. So, if you've been to an auction, yeah. Right. Right. It is. Right. Right. Yeah. Humility, right? So just take a moment. And what's your response? What do you like to do to make sure that your kids know they're responsible for their actions? And just to your point, too, just when it falls apart, okay, have grace for yourself. Going to own up my stuff to my kids. My kids already know I've got baggage, right? So I can say, I messed up. Okay, if I could do that over again. And my kids have asked me to do do-overs. Before you walk in the house, they're like, what's going on in here? And Dad, you didn't even connect with us first. Right, that's my heart. I want to connect with you first. You know my heart for you, kids. It's to connect with you. So coming back and do that. You can find us at connectedfamilies.org. And I've given you a couple extra sheets here. The last pages of the handout really are ways for you, and I would encourage you to take a look at this and just see if you can walk through it. Like, what are my typical thoughts and feelings about a persistent challenge? What's my typical reaction? Okay, what messages am I sending to my child in those situations? And then what would it look like if I communicated safe, love, capable, and responsible? This is kind of digging in. And don't do it alone. It's so important to be in community. Work through these things together. So, again, I just am honored to be invited to speak here. Really, really appreciate it. And just the hospitality. So Mark and Sherry have been beyond hospitable to us and our family. And appreciate that. The places we've had lunch, and other places I think we're going to have dinner, and just really, really am grateful. Can I just close with a prayer as we wrap up here? God, we just are so grateful for the way that you extend your grace and mercy to us, and how powerful that is for us. And God, we ask for your wisdom, for your insight. A lot of words were spoken here today, and we pray that the ones that were most important for the individual hearers would just land. Lord, that you would continue to speak life into each person here. We just pray your blessing upon each person in this room, the people that they represent as influencers over kids, families. We just pray your blessing upon them. God, would you just pour out your wisdom to them as they come across difficult situations? Would you just embed in them, God, this sense that you're with them, you're for them. They would just really guide them in relationship. Lord, we just pray your blessing upon this group, these people, this place, and we pray it all in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.